Most of us find flies pretty annoying. They're always buzzing around at the worst possible moment and landing on our food. But despite how annoying they can be, it's also quite difficult to completely get rid of them. After all, there are 4 stages of the life cycle that we need to break before we can even hope to destroy them. And if we don't hurry up and do that, then these little monsters will have multiplied so much by the time we're done that it'll be like starting over again from scratch. But why is it exactly that flies multiply so quickly? Is it just because they're pests and nature has given them the ability to irritate us as much as possible? Or is there something more going on here? Well, the answer lies in 2 very simple facts. The first is that flies don't live very long, and the second is that they reproduce incredibly quickly. And today, let's take a closer look at what makes these animals so determined to pack as many offspring into their short lives as possible. First of all, let's clear up a misconception. Flies may seem very persistent, and some species are, but houseflies only live for about 28 days, and that's already not very much. Humans have an average lifespan of 79 years. Even dogs live for at least 10 times longer than flies. So yes, flies are very tenacious, but not immortal. Adult flies even less than a month. You might think that such a creature just has no time to do anything, but this is where the next fact comes into play. A female fly during her short life can lay up to 500 eggs. And although the majority of them will never hatch due to external factors, nevertheless, even if only a fraction of those eggs end up producing offspring, the overall result will be pretty impressive. And the reason for such a large number of eggs is clear. It's all about the speed of reproduction. If a new generation of flies develops from egg to adult fly in about 7 to 10 days, then you can easily imagine how quickly all this can add up. For example, if 100 female flies lay 500 eggs each, that's already 50,000 future flies. And in just a couple of weeks there could be hundreds of thousands of them. And if each of the females from this batch lays 500 eggs, then the total number of eggs laid will be millions. All this happens pretty quickly and efficiently. Even though we said that flies live for about a month, it's worth clarifying that this figure applies to optimal conditions. In reality, flies usually live much less. Therefore, if you find a fly in your home, there's a high chance that its lifespan will be significantly reduced. But this factor doesn't reduce the efficiency of reproduction. Quite the contrary, when flies find themselves in conditions with abundant food, like inside a house, they grow faster and reproduce even more prolifically. And even if they die earlier than usual, each female will still have time to give birth to several generations of offspring. Flies can start mating when they're only a few hours old, and females often mate multiple times. In optimal conditions, a new generation of flies can be born within a week, which is incredibly fast, especially compared to humans, who have to wait 9 months. Under such conditions, each female fly can give birth to at least 10 new flies. And in just 10 days, a single fly can turn into hundreds of thousands of individuals. This means that just one female fly can lay about 50,000 eggs in her life, and each of them will hatch into a new fly. And all this in just a month. But the most interesting thing is that flies are able to repeat this whole cycle over and over again. If a female fly hatches from an egg at 7 a.m. and mates successfully, then by 7 p.m. the same day, she'll already be ready to lay her first batch of eggs. And within a week, the first descendants will begin to emerge. And by the time the initial batch of flies reaches sexual maturity, the mother fly will have already laid another 500 eggs. And this process will continue until the death of the female fly. So in just a month, a single fly will have time to give birth to several generations of offspring. And all this would be fine if flies didn't pose any danger to humans, but unfortunately, they do. These creatures pollute everything they touch with their paws and bodies, which are often in contact with rotting organic matter. In addition, flies carry serious diseases such as cholera, typhoid, fever, dysentery, tuberculosis, and even the plague. Their presence in food is very unpleasant and dangerous. In order to avoid problems with these insects, many people use various types of traps and sprays. However, sometimes these measures are not enough, and the fight against flies continues year after year. And all because during their short lives, flies manage to multiply so much that getting rid of them completely is almost impossible. When you decide to deal with flies, you must do it carefully and know exactly what to target. If you kill adult flies, then nothing will change because their eggs will soon hatch and the whole cycle will start anew. Therefore, the fight against flies should be comprehensive. First, it's necessary to eliminate what attracts them in the first place. Flies are attracted by the smell of spoiled food, rotten garbage, and dirty dishes. Therefore, it's important to store food properly, take out the trash regularly, and wash dishes promptly. Otherwise, flies will keep coming back. You can also try to repel flies by planting certain plants like basil, lavender, mint, or bay leaves near your home. The smell of these plants is not very appealing to flies and mosquitoes. Another effective way to deal with flies is to use flypaper or electric traps. They lure flies in with light and then zap them. Just make sure to place these devices far away from your food and out of reach of children and pets. There are also special sprays and liquids that can get rid of flies pretty quickly. Just remember that after using these products, you need to ventilate the room well because the chemicals in them can be harmful to your health. Some people also use more natural methods like hanging fly ribbons or placing fly plants like capenses or fat plants near windows. And don't forget to seal up any cracks or holes in your home, because that's how flies get in. Despite their extremely short lifespan, houseflies are one of the most biologically successful creatures on the planet. Their ability to reproduce incredibly quickly allows them to spread rapidly and infect humans with dangerous diseases. That's why it's so important to know how to get rid of these insects once and for all. Well, now you know what the secret is. Write down in the comments if you knew it before and like the video if you liked it. See you soon. Bye.